What's going on, everybody? My name is Gianni, and today we're talking Kong. So out the gate, I want to say that most of my Nintendo nostalgia stops right after the NES, Game Boy, and Super Nintendo, unlike a lot of my peers. But one title that will always stick with me is Donkey Kong Country during the character's highly regarded development era under Rare. This game had awesome platforming, fun characters, and one of the best game soundtracks of the early 90s. While Nintendo, Retro Studios, and even Namco took a stab at bringing the franchise back to those glory years, none of those titles ever really grabbed me the way the original Country games did. Fast forward to the Switch 2 Nintendo Direct in April, and Bananza gets announced to maximum hype, and I gotta say, I was intrigued. A brand new semi-open world Donkey Kong game with an overhauled look for DK, highly destructible but simultaneously beautiful environments, and rumored development by the team behind Super Mario Odyssey. Okay, yeah, sign me up. That said, now that I've played a little over 5 hours and made it past the game's first few levels, let's dive into my first impressions. Right off the bat, Bananza showcases everything that makes it so special, and that can be summed up by two things: raw power and freedom to play how you want. The game kicks off with a set of button prompts to introduce you to DK, which immediately made me grin from ear to ear, and once you've got full control over our sweet baby boy, you can instantly feel the strength of just smashing your way to wherever you want and the effort of exploring everything the world has to offer. Every environment is like 90% destructible, and between the controller rumble and the audio feedback, you really can feel the power of DK as you punch, slam, smash, and explode your way through the world. The feeling of just annihilating your surroundings feels so satisfying, and there were multiple times during my initial time with the game that I'd see a giant jutting landmass and just go, damn, maybe instead of just going where I have to go, I'd just punch my way through that cliff, and I would. And it was so sick. And because the game lets you really carve your way through its environments however you see fit, it offers up some of the most surprisingly massive and dense maps I've seen from a game like this in years. There's so many items to find, currencies to earn, power-ups to gather, that I can imagine a completionist run of Bananza must run up like 60 to 70 hours. I got to a point where I had to tell myself to move on, or else I would spend dozens of hours in one spot. And I don't mean to paint that negatively. This is a really good thing. The amount of bonus levels and hidden collectibles I've already come across is mind-boggling, and my map is still littered with more to find. And the best part is, they're fun to look for. Nothing has felt repetitive yet from a combat standpoint, and there's been a handful of times that I've underestimated the difficulty of a puzzle solution. Even better so, these are all things that can be completely ignored if you see fit. So whether this is your kid's first Donkey Kong experience, or you're a gaming veteran, you're gonna have a fun time. And with that unexpected complexity comes a series first with stat building and unlockable skills. Not in the way you'll be min-maxing the precise scaling of your punches to the point where you're up late on Reddit, being yelled at by strangers because you're just not understanding the differences between intelligence, faith, and arcane. But to the point where you'll have a nice ability to customize your own ways to maneuver through the world and fight monsters that might differ from your friends. There's a massive stable of traversal mechanics that you can buff and tweak to make DK's movement that much more fun. Whether it's heightened jumping, climbing, or makeshift skateboarding, there are so many abilities that you have control over. Again, I'm still kind of early in my time with Bananza, so I'm curious to see how customizable this really ends up being, but we're off to a really great start. Now, backdropping all the amazing gameplay is a story that so far seems pretty straightforward but charming. A mining company headed by a group of unruly Kongs known as Void Co. is trying to make their way to the planet's core after uncovering that it offers the Finder incredible power, and DK and Pauline take on the task of stopping the evil Kongs while also searching for a way back to the planet's surface. So far, it's nothing overly complicated, but it's fun, and I'm excited to see how it plays out. I don't want to spoil anything, but I've already gotten my fair share of hints that this story may go in some unexpected directions, and I can't wait to see it through. Okay, so before I sign off, I do want to point out just a couple of hiccups that I couldn't help but notice during my time with Bananza. First, the camera and popping. Because this game is as destructible as it is and allows you to mostly go wherever you want, there are a few hiccups with your camera getting snagged and losing eyes on DK, or this weird brown environmental pop-in that happens pretty frequently when you're looking at long distances. It's not the end of the world, but it's enough that I would notice it every time it happens. The second thing is, sorry. The second, sorry. The second, sorry, hold on. The second, sorry, hold on. Run it back. The second thing is a lot of moments in this game make me so nauseous when I'm playing in dock mode. I'm still really struggling to figure this one out, and I thought I was insane when I noticed it, because I do not get motion sickness outside of VR games. But after a text to my brother and a quick little Google search, sure enough, this is a problem that like an unsettling amount of people are facing. I notice it's not nearly as bad when I'm playing handheld, but as somebody who primarily games on a monitor, it's definitely forcing me to step outside my comfort zone to play what is clearly a phenomenal game otherwise. I have tried tweaking some settings with the camera sensitivity and HDR visuals, which helped a bit, but I may have to play around with it some more. So, all in all, my first impressions with Donkey Kong Bananza are extremely positive, and I can easily see this making its way into my top 10 when the Game of the Year conversations start rolling around. With plenty of love for the franchise roots, incredible world building and exploration, and charming characters that are keeping me hooked from story beat to story beat, I'll definitely be seeing this one through, and I can't wait to roll credits. But what are your thoughts? I'd love to know how you're liking Bananza so far. Is it a top 10 contender, or am I just hyping up this 8 more than I need to be? Let me know in the comments below, and be sure to find me here on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, Instagram, Threads, anywhere that you're at, I'm there too. So be sure to give me a follow and a sub to keep up with everything I'm working on, and we'll see you on the next one.